What's good, people? It's Dan with the Corporate Thief Beats, and you're watching another beat showcase. Today I'm going to show you how I created a Desiigner type beat, and I was inspired by the track he did called Panda. And it doesn't sound exactly like Panda, but I like the darkness within the Panda track. And I kind of listened to a lot of the songs that Desiigner did at that time, and they all kind of had this weird kind of creepy darkness to it, which I really like. And there's other artists as well that kind of sound a bit similar to it, like Big Sean kind of has some dark elements in the kind of Blessed album. Um, Kid Ink has kind of got these dark elements in his beats as well. And I really like creating beats like these. These are my favorite beats. They're not too complicated. There are little sounds that all kind of match together to create one giant kind of instrumental basically. And it's kind of like trap meets this kind of new school kind of seedy darkness kind of sound. I'll play the intro and I'll play the verse. I won't play the whole lot. There'll be a link in the description to show you exactly what the beat sounds like. It's actually one of my favorite ones. I really like this one. And I'll pause it there. And then it's kind of the same kind of loop, kind of repeated over and over again. It's kind of the verse, chorus kind of section. So we'll start off with the intro and see what sounds I use in there. So it started off with a piano. So it's very basic piano, Steinway piano within Logic. It's in the ESX synthesizer. We'll just take a look at the EQ within that. And you can see that I have, a second now, we'll just boost that brightness up a bit. You can see that I have the kind of boost at this little section here, and I have cut anything below 1K, and I brought down the dB a little bit as well. And we'll just take a listen to those pianos and see what they sound like. And both of those pianos just kind of are layered, that's all they are. One second now. And the reverb kind of really gives it a nice atmosphere. There's a little bit of tape delay on there as well, just to kind of make it spread out in the mix as well. And the reverb kind of really fills the void in the room, and it kind of gives a more realist sound to the piano. Very simple melody, little piano lick. That's all it is really. And we'll just play the next little section. It's kind of cavernous dreams. You might have noticed that I've used this in previous beats. It's in Sculpture in Logic, and cut anything below 50 Hertz, boosted a little bit at the low end, and cut at 1K, boosted at 5K. And there's a compressor on there as well, just to kind of make it peak a little bit. Second now. It's like a bell sound. and it's playing the same melody as the Steinway piano. Next, we have these fairy vocals, and these are just pad sounds that I use to create atmosphere in the track. A lot of the time, I use pad sounds and drone pad sounds just to fill the emptiness. A lot of the time, if you just have drums and melody, it sounds too empty for me. I like to have that pad sound just to make it feel a little bit fuller. Actually, this time, this pad sound actually is actually creating a counter melody against the piano and the cavernous dreams. So we hear the counter of it now. So one's playing one melody and one's playing a different melody, and they both counter each other. And I really like this effect in a song. And what's happening now is when we're building the tension in the song. So the counter melody is played in strategic sections within. So it goes like boom, 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 and it's played in between the piano. It's not really clashing with the piano. I really like doing that in songs. I love when two counter melodies or when two vocalists sing two different things, and I just love it. Like there's bands like System of a Down do it in rock music, and I love the way like they kind of fight each other with their vocals. It's really cool. And I love when melodies do it as well, when one guitarist plays one melody and then another guitarist is playing another counter melody underneath, and it gels so well together. And then we have the drone pad sounds that I was telling you about, and see what these sound like. One's One's called a Dusty Piano and the other one's called Beneath the Ice. Beneath the Ice is a massive synth, and it's just a roll off at the 200 hertz. My 808 bass line is going to follow that low end. And Dusty Piano is also in massive, and they're both playing the same. Again, it's kind of like a counter melody, but it's more like just to follow. It's more chords, really. And there's not really much to it. And with the last few sections in the intro here are vocal chops, and all I did was just found some vocals in a sample pack. We'll just open them up. There isn't really much to them, like, but we'll see if we can open them up. See, they're very small vocal chops. And we'll just see what I did with it. There's no need to actually see the audio. Come back again because it's just getting confusing when it's too like that. So you can see they're in strategic places within the mix, and we'll just see what I did with it. So the first one has Space Designer and delay on it, so I just put a little bit of delay, delay on it, and it just adds a reverb effect on it. And the same thing again with the audio 2, it's the same sound, it's just bent a little bit different. And the last one is audio 3, and it's got a different delay. So all I did was just put different presets of delay on it. We'll just see what kind of delays I put on those. So on the last one, it's just a kind of a wounded delay. We'll just play that again. And so that's all I did, was just find these sounds. Second now. Don't need them all. And we'll just kind of tinker with them. We'll just see what it sounds like with something else. Don't have to pick that one, but at that time I thought it was good. See, it's just adding different variations within sounds. It's the same sound over and over again. I just found what delays actually make it sound unique. Almost sounds like the Rick Ross grunt there. And that's just from messing around with it. Nothing crazy there. There's nothing spectacular there. But when you just play them all together, you know, all the sounds there, they just kind of add a little variation. A lot of hip hop artists today like vocal chops in the background, and they like a lot of ad libs. So let's see how I manage that. Okay, and we can see what the vocal chops are doing in that section. Nothing spectacular, but it's all gelling well, very nicely together. Next, we have this kind of crazy trap synth alert. I love when this happens a lot in West Coast music or G-funk or anything like that, where you have that piercing synthesizer that sails through the mix, and I love that sound. I love that those kind of old cool, really kind of whistle, almost like a whistle synthesizer that you hear in like in a lot of old school Dre or not Dr. Dre sounds or Snoop Dogg sounds or Nate Dogg or anything like that. That kind of old West Coast whistle. It's called a trap alert synthesizer, but it sounds like a West Coast synth. Okay, and you can hear it's playing another counter melody against the previous melodies we showed you already. So we'll just play all these ones again. So we stick in the fairy vocals, we'll stick in the Steinway piano, and we'll see what it all counts. Just listening to that fairy vocals there kind of brings me back to the old school of Metal Gear Solid, from the very start of Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 1. I don't know, I just had that memory there for a minute. Next we have this sound called Rainbow. Let's see what that sounds like. And that's just there to accentuate the fairy vocals again. And I think the delay lines are also there to accentuate the fairy vocals. See, that's what I'm doing here now, is that I'm matching loads of sounds and blending them together. So it starts off with that kind of, I'm going to call it the Metal Gear Solid sound. And then I'm layering it together to create my own unique sound. So this could be my own synthesized sound then. And it just sounds clean. Even though it's a piercing kind of sound, it sounds very clean. Everything has a lovely pocket in the mix. It's all about sound selection for me. It just saves you so much time mixing it later, and then just playing around with it until you find a sound that actually gels together well. So we'll just play all those there together quickly. Okay, and we pause it there. and everything is coming together really nicely. Next is the sub heavy bass, and this kind of is a really dark round bass that comes in. It's in Massive, I think, Alchemy, sorry. It's in Alchemy in Logic. We'll just take a look at what I put on it, what kind of sounds I put on it, or plugins I put on it, and we'll just mute that. And we'll just make a little loop there. It's a real nasty, it's kind of brought down in the mix. It's really nasty and dirty, and it's got, because of that overdrive. If you take the overdrive off, it's going to sound. And now it sounds just a bit too rumbly for me. It doesn't sound clean anymore without the EQs on it. The overdrive is kind of acting like a compressor. It just lifts it a little bit, slight bit, tad bit. When we look at the EQ, well, I have the EQ done a couple of times, so it's starting to rumble. It sounds a little bit noisy. It sounds just a little bit cleaner there. And I've cut anything below 73 Hertz. That might seem a bit drastic for most people, but wait till my kick comes in, and wait till I have an 808 that comes in as well. So we'll cut that out, and we'll just see what's next then. There is some sounds that come in here as well. With a little bit of a drum sounds here coming in. That's just my snare sound there. My hi-hats. And we'll see what comes in next after that then. A second now. Our kick drum comes in here. It's a really heavy kick. Really heavy kick. Bring in my drum kit. This is kind of a common trap sound. They sound better with two snares together than just one. Reverb is very important. And we'll just take a look at the sub 808 that comes in. We'll take a look at my 808. And that kind of just sails through the mix. 1 second now. We'll just duplicate that, and we'll have a look at that on its own. We'll go to the 808. It's ES2 sound, and it's got some overdrive on it. We'll just take off the overdrive and see what it sounds like without the overdrive. Sounds just a little bit more controlled with the overdrive, a bit loose without the EQ. Look at the MIDI. So this is kind of following the chords that I had in the drone sounds. That's what it's really following. kind of playing like their own little kind of melody. It's weird. And then they all kind of complement each other together at the same time. So we'll just listen to them all together in that section. See the difference there when I bring in that heavy bass distortion? There's a huge difference. It's like almost a bit too light without it. And the hi-hats kind of really give it that kind of trap vibe as well. And it's at 82 BPM, sorry, I should have said that at the start. And then I kind of cut everything out at this section here. It's going into the hook now. This is the pre-chorus. And there's nothing crazy about it, but it's always, like I said, when you're creating beats, look for the hook. If you can find the hook, and if you can hear this song here, it's got multiple different elements that are almost the hook. Everything, every sample or every sound is creating its own melody. Even the bass line to the 808. There is something there I just forgot to mention as well. I doubled up that trap synth. It's not in the intro, it's only in the hook. It's because I just felt it was just a little bit lighter in the hook. And so I just wanted to double it up a little bit more. So that's how I created this Desiigner Type Beat. I really like this kind of sound. I love this kind of sound. I love when I create multiple different melodies, but still not make it oversaturated with melodies. Like, that still has pockets of space there for a hip-hop artist to really shine, but it has a beautiful gel of different melodies as well. And it's not easy to do that. It takes time to find the melodies and find the space where you're supposed to put the melodies in at. Like where I showed you a while ago, where I had the piano sound, and each section, when after the key plays, a note from another synthesizer plays, which counters the original melody. And I just love creating stuff like that. If you listen to my very early beats, while they're not perfect or not polished enough, the melodies, a lot of my stuff did that. Maybe I overdid it, but this time there's still that huge space for a hip-hop artist to really shine. And that's the most important part, but still give it a unique sound. Now, if you know anyone that would be interested in that beat, or if you think you'd be interested in this beat, there's a link in the description of this video that will take you directly to my beat store at thecorporatefleetbeats.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe the video, and I'll check you out in the next time, guys. Take care. Bye.